Yeah, I like my local.
Yeah. That doesn't bother me as much as the 5 minute alarm. You're sitting there, you're maybe doing something else, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
suddenly it's like, "Poof," and
You
you
get the
jump.
warning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
I'm already on the call. So okay. Anyway, I'll get into this.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to Oral Hygiene. It's a podcast where we look at educational films, experimental and caught films, interesting documentaries. This is Matt. With me today is a fellow podcaster from the Mission Log podcast. Hello, John Champion.
Hello, Matt. Good to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Of course, we're tangentially, I guess, track. You recently did the Deep Space Nine My Way, and I was sitting there, Vegas, gotta do Vegas. So
Yeah.
or is it a Recreation Unlimited is today's film.
There are no limits on this recreation. We're going to recreate so hard
All right, yeah,
because of
exactly.
this. Yeah.
But as I asked or mentioned before, could you give us that quick sort of TV guide synopsis of this film?
Yeah, so you're flipping around in a TV guide in 1956, 57, and you stumble across this little ad that says, hey, are you planning a trip to Vegas? Watch Recreation Unlimited, all about the desert end, where you will see pools and golf and lots of golf and driving, tons of driving, because everybody's got a car there.
Yeah, really.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah, that was one of the things that blew my mind here. Just we're all used to hi-fi insane Vegas, so seeing such a lo-fi, everything. They're outdoors for the most part. That's weird because you can stay
Yeah.
indoors in Vegas forever, I think.
Yeah, it's very chill. Like you can tell that the scale of Vegas is definitely getting bigger. Like they're definitely on the upswing. This isn't the I can't remember what Bugsy Siegel. He created the flamingo, and at the time it was just this tiny little space, nice but tiny. And then it took a good 10 years, which is where we are with this late 50s, for Vegas to really start growing. And it reminded me, like the shots of this reminded me of going to Palm Springs now. Now, you don't have the shows, you don't have the casinos and stuff, but it's still like everything's pretty much 1 or 2 stories high. You drive through a lot of desert to get there. And then, it's like normal sized pools, normal sized hotels. It's not crazy in your face all the time. And that makes me think, yeah, there's a town that time stopped in like 1962. And this version of Vegas that we get in this, it's definitely growing, but it hasn't gotten to the insane decadence of the 70s and beyond.
What sort of hit me, actually, this film didn't quite look like that. I've only been to Vegas once, and
Hmm.
then the car broke down. We were heading for Prescott, Arizona, and the car broke down around Lawton, so we ended up hanging around Lawton for a couple days.
That
And
must have been great.
yeah, I was like, this must be '60s Vegas. When we were in Lawton, I was like, oh, this is where the Rat Pack would hang out. That was left as like the
Yeah,
time capsule there. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. Now it's just cool to see that slice before things really change. To see that moment, and clearly, like the whole point of a place like Vegas is that it keeps changing over time, and everybody's in competition with everybody else, and the hotels get bigger, and the entertainment gets grander and bolder, and that's what we expect out of a place like that. But then when you find either a slice of it in film like this or a slice of it in real life, it's kind of special. And my notes to myself here about this film is that it is, yeah, it's this modern but timeless but retro kind of feel. It's nice, but it's certainly not fancy. The Desert Inn is really trying to make a case for how incredible and how special it is. But you like just like, well, this isn't really fancy. They have this weird St. Louis arch by the pool, but
y-
the pool isn't insane, and there aren't like, yeah, there is a fountain show at the end, but it's not super over the top the way things are now.
yeah, I was like, it's like a really nice motel.
Yeah,
So
right. See, exactly. Again, this point in Vegas, this point in time in Vegas where things were just 1 or 2 stories high, very motor friendly, and kind of approachable on a human scale.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sitting here thinking I recently got back to Showgirls. So I'm wondering
Oh my God.
where we put that on the
Yeah.
Vegas continuum.
Yes.
I've only been through once. I've only spent a night in Vegas, to be honest. But
Mhm.
um, that
And
was
where were you then when you were in Vegas?
like, oh, we were 22 or 23-year-olds going through on the cheap, so we stayed at like an actual motel like next to Circus.
Wow. Oh man. You're in for it when it's next to Circus
I
Circus.
know,
you
yeah.
you can't even get into Circus Circus.
Well,
That's
again,
serious.
the car broke down the next day. It was a 1983 Honda Civic, and this was in like 2003. So
This is how people get murdered. That's what happens. I mean, I've made that drive from LA to Vegas and back so many times, and there's a town called Baker, and you just know that that is the murder capital of Nevada, or maybe it's California. I don't know, but either way, like it's a town built on the premise that cars will break down, and then the genetic mutants come out of the hills and just start picking off tourists.
I guess we were lucky for breaking down Lawton then.
Yeah, you were. You were.
My trip, when I made the trip, I met my friend in San Francisco, and she was like, we could go swing. We were going to Prescott because she went to school there, and we were like, we
Mhm.
could swing down through L.A. or take the upward arch through Death Valley and Vegas. And I took the
Gotcha.
Vegas in part because it was 2003, and I could still ride the original experience, right?
Oh, right on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Yeah.
right, so we did that.
R.I.P. Yeah.
Which I did properly hungover because yeah, we got there and I was like, okay, I'm only gonna spend $20 gambling. That's it. I I got I got bored after 8 and spent the other $12 on martinis, which of course is a lot of
Nice.
martinis in Vegas.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's an easier way to not get bored. Yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely know I'm not a gambler.
Yeah, yeah, me either. Me either. My patience for it is like if I the first time I went to Vegas, I was there for a trade show. No, wait, I'm sorry. Second, first time I went was for a wedding. Second time I went was for a trade show, and the people that I was with, none of us were gamblers. But every now and then, it was just it was almost like we were trying to psych ourselves out. Like, okay, if we're walking through a casino from the lobby to the bar, what if you just like what is the shortest amount of time that you could stop and put $20 down at like a roulette table? Can you at least just like double your money and walk away? And that became sort of our game with each other because we didn't like to gamble, but we liked the idea of buying each other a drink. So we just sort of walk through, put the money down, and then with roulette, it's so dumb. It's just like, is it black? Is it red? But then you get some money back from it, and we're like, okay, this is great. That'll be our gambling. We'll limit ourselves to that. Put down money, and if you win something, you buy the other person a drink, and if you don't, you just walk away.
Yeah.
That's it. You're done.
If I had been there a year or two later, I might have given that would have been a Texas Hold'em peak, so I might have given that a shot.
Mm-hmm.
But when I went there, I hadn't actually learned how to play that well yet. I don't think
Yeah.
I could play that well now. It's been quite a while, so
Yeah.
these things do take some practice.
Yeah. Oh, they do. Yeah.
Pulling it back to Desert Inn, they start name checking people a lot, and I'm like, are they again? Why aren't they at like the Flamingo or something? Are they outside of Rat Pack orbit?
Yeah, that's what I think's going on here. Although, I mean, you can tell there are the big names and then there are the smaller names. I was impressed. One of the first people they point out is Noel Coward. That's super cool. I was just like, wow, you're going for a literary celebrity, and he was known as a performer as well. But that was pretty cool. And then you got Jane Powell. Hello, so there's some really cool, and then there are some who you just don't know anymore. Like they're hot for a minute, and you have to assume that whoever's doing PR for the Desert Inn, they're like calling in the favors and getting them to come hang out by the pool. Just come on, you don't have to do anything. Just hang out. We'll just get a shot, and then we'll have the narrator say your name. That's all you're in it for. And then you can go back to the Flamingo. We promise.
Go back into your room, pull down the
Mm.
blinds, and freak out.
Yeah, yeah.
But what else did I got? Oh yeah, there were a few phrases in this. Of course, this is a very vintage film. That's part of the charm. But I
Oh,
did
the
giggle.
charm. Look, you had me. I was sold because from the first second that this film started, I am there for anything that starts out with that warbly mismatch. You know, the soundtrack isn't quite aligned when the film starts. When it's that compared or combined with the really canned narration, I'm there. I am sold. You have my attention. So from the beginning, I was in.
Radio. The
Mhm.
first one that stuck out as being a little funky, the most famous 3 miles in the world. I was like, oh, not anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Very true.
That,
And I believe in that same paragraph, the narrator says something about tropical splendor. Like, no, no, you're in a desert with a pool and about six trees. That's
the temperatures are tropical.
yeah, yeah.
I went around. I took that trip around New Year, so I remember Death Valley as being a relatively cool place. that's
Right.
that's got to be the wrong idea.
Yeah, yeah.
I, I wore a jacket in Death Valley. That's wild.
Ooh. Well, it's just so you can like take it off and then feel like you're actually cooling down. But no, if you were there during a nice part of the year, you were lucky. Yeah.
Right. Oh, and the other one they try sticking on to this the slogan that may not sit so well these days when they call it the gay white way of the West. I was like,
Oh, they
ow.
should bring that back. They should totally bring that. Just own it. You know, the days of what stays in Vegas or what happens in Vegas stays in, those are long gone. So they should just bring back, just make it full circle and go back to the gay white way.
No, like I was
Love
saying,
it.
if you want 60s Vegas, I really felt like Lawton was the place. Maybe Reno. I haven't been to Reno, but
Yeah, it could be, could be. You know, but it also depends. Like, that's when the time that this film was made, and clearly it's a promotional piece for the Desert Inn, so they're really not showing off what's around them. And I think the Stardust was open by that time. Obviously, Flamingo was, maybe even the Frontier, I think, was open around then. And that's when things started to stretch out along Las Vegas Boulevard, there on what we know today as the Strip. But then there's that shot toward the end where they're in downtown Vegas on Fremont Street, and all those old neon signs that are now in the neon sign boneyard for like the Golden Nugget and Vegas Vic and all that stuff, all there looking incredible. So, like, depending on when you went, if you were really cool, you were probably in downtown. You were probably there on Fremont. And if you were just sort of like, in this case, like trying to sell people on the idea, like, no, 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 come a little bit south, come down on Vegas Boulevard. Then you're in these hotels that have a little more sprawl. You know, again, the one or two story places with the big pool and no shade anywhere. That's they were trying to get people to migrate down that way, and that's where we all go now.
yeah, I feel like downtown has the reputation more of a demilitarized zone these days.
No, completely. Yeah, yeah. It depends on when you hit it. I've been there when it felt really cool. Like just I hit it for a minute when it felt like people are into the nostalgia of it, and there were some shows and restaurants kind of popping up. And then I feel like within the same year, I've been there where it just felt like a total nightmare, where it's just nobody's really into it. They just you feel like everybody's there out of obligation. And like, well, we have to go see the lights and the canopy now that stretches over the street, and then get our $3 margarita in a plastic cup and then get the hell out. you know yeah.
So, do you have a favorite hotel casino?
There's so many that the first time that I went, I stayed at the Flamingo, and I thought it was really cool because they do maintain a little bit of that vintage vibe. Not a whole lot. Um, I think the one right now that has adapted the best to modern Vegas in terms of its growth and like quality of amenities and quality of restaurants. And I think Caesars is nailing it all the time. And it's very different from what Caesars looked like, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. Go look up photos and video of that. It's entirely different. And then there are some that are nice, like they've earned their reputation for a reason. Like Bellagio, super nice. Loved my stay there. Just everything about it is quality. Then you go down the street a little bit, and it's like Venetian, trying to be very nice, but it just feels like the sprawling mess that you get lost in no matter what. So I don't know. I tend to hotel hop. Because I'm not a gambler, I tend to go from place to place based on restaurant availability, restaurant choices, and shows and architecture. And let's face it, Vegas is a city, at least on the strip there, as my mom actually pointed out one time, this is a place where there are buildings, but there is no architecture. It's like, yes, yeah, like there is a structure that you can go in. There is a structure that holds rooms, but can we really call it architecture? Not necessarily.
I'm looking up some 40-year-old photos of Caesars here. I'm finding Dom DeLuise, I think.
Yes. Oh man. Hey, and don't forget, Evil Knievel did a jump there in front of Caesars. Caesars would always show up in like TV specials, and well, let's see, even in History of the World Part 1.
I was looking for
going
that
to the palace.
I was looking for that poster the entire time I was there.
And that's it. And if you watch stuff like that now, and you had not been to Vegas, you would think like, oh, Vegas is a place where I go check into my hotel and then I can walk around a bit. That is not the case. Like it is designed now to keep you confused and stuck inside hotels.
I got properly lost in the MGM. That was the one that was most confusing for me.
That's the one that Dean Martin, Johnny Carson asked, where do you like to go? Where do you like to stay? And he said, I like to stay at the Migum.
All right. That sounds about right.
The Migum. So that's the proper pronunciation of it.
He got stuck playing drunk. Yeah.
Right.
Actually, I know he typically was probably not drunk on stage, but have you seen the DVD on this one?
What? No, I have not.
Okay, it's a CD and a DVD. It's the Ultimate Rat Pack Collection, Live and Swinging. He comes out, he's playing his drunk act.
Yeah.
He comes and to bow, hits his forehead on the microphone and looks like properly disoriented for about 2 seconds.
Oh, that's so good. By the way, here's a fun tip. On YouTube, I don't know why. I don't know if the rights are just open or whatever, but like tons of the Dean Martin show from the mid 60s to the early 70s available like full length and like pristine. I don't know where these tapes came from. I don't know if they were remastered or what. That is one of my wind down shows at the end of the night. I love it because he's just so, you can tell why he was a star. Like the bits are funny and his timing is incredible, but he's just got charisma. He's just got this magnetic presence on stage, and I never grow tired of watching it. But I will say that as fun as I think Dino is, and I love his shtick on stage, I think the most talented out of the group was Sammy. No question about it. That guy was so ridiculously talented with everything. And it's a shame that he died when he did. I think he passed away before Dino and Frank had throat cancer. And he's magnetic. Look up any live performances of his, and there are a good number on YouTube as well. And he's incredible. But those Rat Pack shows, a lot of that stuff never got filmed. I think there's only one or two that exists.
Yeah, that's what's on this DVD. It's like, actually, I'll tell you.
That's the one, yeah.
It's been a little while since I've been into it. So there's something slightly, maybe it's like Joey Bishop wasn't there or something, but that's fine.
Yeah, right, whatever. Yeah.
Joey Bishop's just there to hang out and drink, right? Let's see.
Yeah.
It's live at the Kiel Opera House, 1965.
Okay, is that the one with Johnny Carson?
He's the host. Yes.
Okay, yeah. Because they did that as like it was like a special event or something that Johnny was there hosting it, and
And here and so he takes the Joey Bishop role basically, and
yeah,
the
yeah,
big kicker on this, it's got sets from all three of them, and then they do a few songs together at the end, which I think that's the big rarity of them doing it all together.
yeah, right.
So you get
See, and that's a video like that, and the soundtrack or something like that. That's so much why I love recordings of that era. Like I'm so big into jazz and some comedy records from that period, like the early to mid 50s up through the late 60s, kind of the cutoff, because something about the improving but still somewhat comparatively primitive recording standards, when you have something that is actually live or live in studio, and you get the little discrepancies, you get the little like people making a gaff here and there, and in the case of this Rat Pack film, just them playing off each other and improvising, or even when the bits are not improvised but they're making it look like they're improvised. You feel the joy in the room. You hear them laughing with each other, you hear the audience laughing spontaneously. It's great. Stuff like that is gold.
I'm in the middle of a book about Warner Brother Records, Warner Reprise, and it's talking about. I think it's when Mo Austin first met Sinatra and was on set of one of the late '50s movies, and he was just going completely insane at the director. 5 minutes later, he's going to meet him in the trailer. Oh God, what's this going to? Of course, he goes, "Oh, it's Sinatra."
Yeah, right.
Watching the man absolutely lose it 5 minutes previously. So
God, wow. Yeah, no thanks. See, and that's the thing. Like Frank is somebody that I did see him live. It was about 91, so this was in the twilight of his career, and I wanted to see him because I wanted to say that I had seen Frank Sinatra, and I very generously got a gift of tickets to go see him, and it was good. But he was, a shadow of the Frank Sinatra of the 60s. I'm glad that I saw that show. He's not somebody I ever would have wanted to meet.
Yeah, talk about intimidation.
Yeah, and just it doesn't seem like he came across as a really nice guy ever. Like there are some people who maybe you catch them on a bad day or a good day or whatever, and some celebrities who are just incredibly kind and generous with their time and grateful for their fans, and others who just, you know what, I'll admire your talent from afar. We'll leave it there.
A couple shows that I happened to catch that where the person was again in the twilight of their career but were really good was at the Atlanta Olympics, Ray Charles did a couple of free shows, and whoa, those are
good.
Oh
yeah. Oh, he was so good for so long.
Yeah.
He could really keep going. Yeah.
And the other one that I saw really knock it out of the park was Atlanta's Music Midtown Festival, and it was I think he still had 10 years left when I saw him, but Tito Puente, whoa, that was a show.
Oh, dude. Okay, so he died of COVID last year, and it's such a tragedy. I have some friends who were working on a documentary about him when that happened. So the course, the direction of the documentary changed a bit, but that's some of the last footage filmed of him. He's so good. He was so good, and just kept going, like practically right until the end. And that's one reason, like, if I see a bill come through town, and the Playboy Jazz Fest is great about this because you're talking 2 days with 10 acts every day, some of whom I've never heard of. But then I'll look at it, and like a couple of years ago, I looked at the lineup and I was like, Ramsey Lewis. Ramsey Lewis is one of my favorite jazz performers ever. If I don't go see him now, I will be kicking myself when the day comes. And thank goodness I went, because he killed it. He was great.
Yeah, who else? It's Ramsey Lewis. What's the sax? Pharoah Sanders. He's still kicking. That's wild.
Yeah.
He put out an album like a few months ago, and it was actually quite good. So
wow. I mean, there was another like John Hendricks from Lambert Hendricks and Ross. He was the last remaining out of their. No, wait, no, Annie Ross passed away after him, but John Hendricks kept performing. I mean, he was like 90 and he kept performing right up until the end. And I would have loved to have seen him, but but you catch some, and like I got to see Cab Calloway in New York in the '80s, or yeah, yeah. It was in the '80s, and here he was very, he was famous in the 1930s. So
Yeah.
that was like, all right, how can you not go see the show? And it was a great show.
On a
But yeah.
wild tangent, have you seen
Mm.
these? I guess they're early talkies of
Uh,
Cab Calloway and Louis Armstrong, where it's like half animated, and it's just the most insane stuff ever.
no, I haven't seen it because I've seen the early film footage of both of them, but no, not something with animation in it.
It is stuff that's not PC now completely. Like
Sure,
it,
sure,
it's,
sure.
but
Yeah.
it's so surreal. It's like that early Betty Boop style surreal. I think it was the same animators doing that.
Yeah. Okay.
So just
Cool.
wild stuff. I'll see if I can find a link or something for that
Oh, I
for
gotta
you,
look that
because
up.
those
Yeah.
are oh, is Cab Calloway doing I'm gonna something you after your dad or whatever.
Right.
Bunch of
Gonna
animated
check it out.
skeletons and stuff. So yeah.
Oh, too cool.
Um any Do you want to smack talk anywhere in Vegas? That's fun too sometimes.
I mean, look, Vegas now it's so weird, and it's definitely like there's a part of me that I love high end, exceptional experiences. Like I want to go for a great show. I want to spend my money on great food. I want to just revel in that experience. There's a lot of Vegas that's trash, you know. There's a lot of Vegas that's really terrible, and here we are talking about a movie that's from, the late 50s. And let's not kid ourselves. Like, they're presenting this very idyllic version, and people are dressed great, and they're all having a blast. And we should not just purely romanticize the past. There are all kinds of problematic things that you would find in a realistic picture of this time, just as you would any point in history. But Vegas now is really strange. Like, I love that there are great chefs plying their trade there. There is art to be found there. There are great shows to be found there. But that is mixed in with just a lot of absolute junk. Um, and it's, I understand that you kind of have to have both. If you just created a place that was nothing but purely high end, high minded entertainment, it would die. It would not be able to grow the way that it has. So like I'm glad that it's there. I'm glad about the existence of something that caters to tourism, that is just built around the idea of tourism. But you walk through and it's like, do I really need to see a Margaritaville ever again in my life? And yet here's one. Do I really need to see a Guy Fieri branded restaurant? No, but here it is. It just exists. And,
Yeah, I
yeah.
spent some time in a Margaritaville, but that's because it was almost literally across the street from my apartment. So,
Yeah.
someone's come by, hey, let's go, get some, fries and a drink or something. It's right there.
I could okay. Since here in Japan, I don't remember if we talked about this, but I could not bring myself when I was there. I was there for like 2 weeks, and this was years ago. And I was with a bunch of people, and they decided like, well, we're going to go to the Hard Rock in Ueno Park in Tokyo. And I was like, guys, I cannot set foot in a Hard Rock while I'm in Tokyo. Okay, so you go. And like 90 minutes later, we'll meet somewhere else. I'm just going to wander. I have no plan, but I'm just going to wander around in any other place that is not Hard Rock Cafe
Yeah,
because I
especially in
can't.
Ueno, the thing is,
Yeah.
leave the station, go across the street, and you're gonna find like 80 of the best restaurants you're ever gonna find.
Well, and that's what I did. I wandered down like alleyways, and I found these little, grill places and food stands, and it was great. I just kind of munched my way through there. So, yeah, I'm not trying to be a snob or anything. It was just, given the amount of time that I have in Japan, I want to make this count. I don't want to go to a place that I also think is trash in the United States.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're not going to do that.
I did go to that Hard Rock, but I had already been in Japan for about 6 months when I went there. So
And at that point, you need it. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
there are some fantastic burger places.
Oh, I bet. Well, we live in an age of like burger revolution, so
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure that's made its way to Japan as well.
The town
Um,
I worked in a few years ago, it's now I still occasionally make the pilgrimage, which I actually call a pilgrimage. The place is called King God Burger.
Whoa! Oh, see,
Actually,
I
on
would
my
have to
Facebook,
go there.
yeah, on my Facebook page, I think it's still listed as my religion.
I love it.
But
Okay, now, I will say this, just again, so people don't think I'm a total snob here. The one thing that I regret is that I didn't go to McDonald's when I was in Japan, because I like the idea of going to a place that has a totally unique, regionalized menu for where McDonald's is really good about that. In different countries, it has completely changed the menu. So, as a social experiment, I would have loved to have tried that.
I can explain some of that for you if you want.
Please,
It's
please.
about the same. I mean, they have a teriyaki
Okay.
burger. They have a teriyaki burger, so there's
Yeah. Okay.
um. I'm also going to throw out there that I haven't been in a McDonald's since 2014. Well,
Yeah.
I stopped drinking any sugary drinks.
Good for
Uh,
you.
didn't stop drinking alcohol, but
Yeah.
you choose your vices. So I stopped having sugary drinks. I basically avoid all fast food now, and well, I
Good
weigh a
for
lot
you.
less than I used to. So,
Good for you.
but
Good. Good.
in that 2014, I did go to McDonald's a lot. They do have special menus from time to time.
Mhm.
So they were going. It was like each month they'd have like a 50s burger and a 60s burger and a 70s burger. So and for some
Oh,
reason, the chicken version, they had a chicken and a beef one. The chicken ones were always the better ones for these. But
interesting.
my favorite McDonald's burger ever was called the Groovy Burger, and I got in a chicken
Oh,
form, and
oh
uh,
my God.
and they had melted cheese fries at McDonald's just for that occasion. So that
That
was pretty
right
cool.
there sounds groovy. That sounds
It
very
was, it
groovy.
was.
Yeah.
Um, the thing with Japanese restaurants is, I mean, if you go to fast food, you're getting fast food. You know what you're getting, right?
Sure.
If
Yeah.
you go to
Yeah.
a restaurant, so it's 99% chance it's going to be pretty good because a bad restaurant simply can't stay open in
E-
Japan.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. I noticed that when I was there. Except for Hard Rock, somehow they're still
Yeah.
there.
Well, they
Right.
have to follow their
Yeah.
protocols.
Yeah.
Make
Yeah.
it the same.
Yeah.
The thing that really makes me angry about the Hard Rock is all the guitars are just permanently on the walls.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Don't play them.
Indeed. Yeah. How dare
Yeah.
you? Yeah.
I'm not in the Indiana Jones frame of mind. It needs to be in a museum.
No, no, no. They need to sing. Yeah. They need to actually be used for their intended purpose. Yeah.
Although a lot of those, it's like, hey, it's Eric Clapton's Fender. It's like, yeah, Fender gave it to Eric Clapton. He played it for 2 days, and then he gave it to the Hard Rock.
He gave it to Hard Rock. Exactly.
So
Yeah.
he touched it, but he didn't like use it on a recording or anything. Like,
Yeah.
he
Right.
just
Right. Yeah.
been through his hands.
I will say, since we're speaking of Hard Rock, and sorry, I keep driving us off topic. The Hard Rock Hotel in Vegas is a place that I've been many times and actually seen some really good shows there. It is a good venue, and there's a little diner there that I like that's pretty good. And yeah, it's not one of those. It's just like a giant mega hotel where you get lost. It's actually pretty easy to navigate. It's not directly on the strip. It's just like kind of on the other side of the block from the strip. Um, and I dig that place actually. It's pretty good. Saw Motley Crue there, and seen some other shows there. I'm kicking myself that I missed the Who in their residency there, because that would have been a great place to see them. But yeah, I've just always had a good time at that place. Never actually eaten in the Hard Rock Cafe in the Hard Rock Hotel because it's still trash.
Well, yeah, either for concert.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of concerts, but not so many for the past 15 years or so. I guess
Oh
living up in
wow,
the
yeah.
mountains, you don't make it out a lot.
Kind of will do that to you. Yeah,
But
yeah.
I saw enough back in the day. I'm like, I probably got my fill, so that's cool.
Right. Right.
The Who, yeah, it's like, you want to see the 1969 Who, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, I would love to have seen Keith Moon in his prime. A little too young for that, but it's interesting to see a band like that age and change over time. Like, I'm not a big purist when it comes to bands. I feel like the music is always more important than the band itself or the individuals in the band, and that music has a life of its own. So I'd rather it live than just somebody decide like, okay, well, that has to stop in this particular time. Like, no, I can go put on Live at Leeds and I can experience in a way the Who live in their prime with that lineup and that kind of raw aggression and raw power. But I also saw them in '82 and it was one thing. I saw them again in the 2000s. It was another thing. And like their lineup is great now. It's just different.
Yeah, like
It's
another
just, yeah.
bass player is absolutely fantastic.
Pino Palladino.
Yes,
He
yes,
is
there we go.
great. Yeah, and Zach Starkey on drums. I mean, come on.
It's
He's
a
Ringo's
lineage.
he's Ringo's son. But do you know who taught him how to play drums?
Yeah, it was Mooney.
Keith Moon. Yeah, exactly.
Ringo
So-
had too many lines at the time. Well, how did Keith Moon get together long enough? He was throwing TVs out.
I know, right? Yeah, like here's how you play drums. You just beat the hell out of them, and then
That's
move
pretty
along.
much how I learned to play drums. I
Yeah.
play in bands in high school, and the drummer it was too difficult to keep breaking it down, moving it. So he just leave it at my house and
Right.
take the drumsticks in his drum stool, but I just stick a chair back there and I bought my own drumsticks. And
Just nice. There you go.
after the math test, it's nice to come home and just go nuts with it.
Yeah. But I kind of, it's so funny, man. This is going to be a long show that'll have nothing to do with the film that you picked out. I apologize.
That's how this podcast rolls.
That's how it goes. Okay. So totally changing subjects again, as we're talking about bands, I watched A&E biography on Kiss. They did a 2-night, like a 4-hour, so two-hour parts on Kiss. And that was the first concert I ever saw. It was in 1979. My mom took me to see Kiss.
Is that pre or post makeup?
Oh, that was still with the makeup on. I didn't
Okay.
take the makeup off until like 81 or 82, somewhere
Okay.
around there.
So okay, then it's a good time to catch them.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's another band that I followed over time. So I saw them then. I saw them in 80. They must have taken it off after 82 because I saw them again in 82 and they still had the makeup on, but a slightly different lineup. And then I saw them again in the 90s. I saw them again in the 2000s. And it kind of occurred to me like that's the perfect example of the music and the show being bigger than the band. I kind of hope that they just become their own tribute band. Like as people age out of it, just like put somebody else in there because it's about the performance. It's about the show. Like you don't necessarily need to be there to see a specific person. It's just like you're going for the event.
That's what the Beach Boys hope.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of these bands that were big in the first wave of rock and roll, like I saw the Temptations several times, seen the Four Tops a couple of times, and there's nobody from the original band, but there are people who joined that band in say the '80s, so they've been around, for longer than the first wave when they started in the '60s. So they've been around and they were kind of like trained by the original guys. You're not seeing the original guys, but you're still seeing the show and you're still hearing the music the way that music, theoretically, arguably should be heard. So yeah, let that happen.
The most bizarre show I ever saw. I don't know how familiar you are or aren't with Atlanta. Did you know a venue called the International Ballroom? Ever hear of that?
I have heard of that,
Okay.
but I may have been in it one time. Yeah.
My parents live, or the house I grew up in is less than a mile from that. So
Oh, cool.
in 1997, my dad and I, we took a 10-minute walk to the International Ballroom. Saw David Bowie.
Whoa.
I mean, they talk about like
cool.
a UFO landing.
Wow.
In this
Okay.
sweltering warehouse. It was the Earthling tour. So his band at the time was like real tight.
Nice. Yeah, well, and that's the album that Trent Reznor produced.
Yeah,
Earthling.
yeah,
Yeah.
the drum and bass sort of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was that? There's also Outside. I can't remember anyway. Yeah, because
Yeah.
he was torn with Trent Reznor was torn with him at the time. So,
Oh, very cool.
but
Very
yeah,
cool.
that was just a amazing show. They had giant eyeball beach balls bouncing around in the crowd and stuff. So that has to be my number one show. And okay, Bowie's a good one because yeah, he's
Yeah.
always had a different band behind him, and
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
always great,
Yeah. Right. Right.
except
But
for maybe a
I
few
think
moments in the late '80s.
yeah, right, right. But no, but that's cool. It's like you know, some bands obviously lend themselves to that if they have a really distinctive style, or if that style kind of gets reinvented along the way. Like there's a point where you know you kind of yeah, if your tribute that's a little cheesy, a little weird, like I've seen a lot of Elvis tribute acts, and it's a little strange when you've got Elvises that are, it feels like a parody, it feels like a caricature. But every now and then you come across one where it's really kind of transcendent. It's like, okay, here's something that is trying very hard to create this experience, create this show to sort of transport the audience for a moment to what that would have felt like. And there's a band that I've seen a bunch of times lately called Queen Nation, that is a Queen tribute band, and they're doing Queen from like late 70s, early 80s period. You know, so that lineup that I never got to see with Freddie Mercury, I've seen it with Paul Rogers, I've seen it with Adam Lambert. Great shows. You know, Brian May obviously still kills it on the guitar. But seeing this tribute band is sort of the best of, you know, they're doing this experience for you that just for a moment is like, ooh, this is what they would have sounded like. We're gonna, you know, kind of put a bow on it for you. And it's great. I love that.
One of the best Elvis impersonation I saw was in a punk rock club. Um, it was a man in a chicken suit named Elvis Chicken.
Oh
Came
God,
up with like a
that's
ukulele or
awesome.
something. Was just like I can't stand. Every people hated him too.
Wow.
It's great, yeah. And
Wow.
and someone actually I just brought on a friend of mine is in Atlanta. We brought him on for the '62 King Kong versus Godzilla, as opposed to the new one. But
Ooh,
he goes around and
nice.
playing shows as a sarsaparilla, the singing gorilla. So he wears a giant blue gorilla suit, has a string bass, and he'll do like you know
Oh
lounge songs.
man. Oh man. Oh,
Slightly out of tune like this. He can play the bass and stuff. It's fine, but yeah,
I love it. I
I,
love it.
I
See,
was
no, go ahead, please.
yeah.
Please.
When he was coming on, I was like, oh, he's gonna be in the gorilla suit, right? Which of course he was. He has a certain mystique. I know the
Mhm.
man behind the gorilla suit, so after we recorded, I accidentally said his real name,
Oh
and
no.
you know, Luke was like, "No, I can't. Don't tell me that. Don't ruin it.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
learning
Don't kill
Santa
the
Claus
mystique.
doesn't exist."
Yeah.
Oh,
But
sorry for
see,
spoilers.
so this is the great thing about Vegas. And I'm always bringing it back to the topic, right? This is the great thing about Vegas is that like I can think of a time that I've been in Vegas where there are no fewer than 4 Elvis tribute acts of varying degrees of quality and varying degrees of seriousness, all you know, pretty much within you know 5 to 10 minutes of each other, and that's awesome because I love the idea that I can go someplace and have the highbrow and lowbrow right next to each other. And some of it's just like, okay, if you see the ironic value in this, great. You'll have a good time. But every now and then there is that one act that is transcendent, that is better, that is non ironic, that actually shows you something worth seeing. And you get a little bit of all of that there.
Could you do a time trip with that? Could you like go see '50s Elvis and then like walk 10 minutes and see '60s Elvis and then go
Oh,
another and see 70?
100%.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
100%. Yeah, yeah. In fact, there was somebody who I saw. Yeah, I've definitely seen someone doing just like pure, you know, 70s overweight Elvis, but then somebody who was awfully good doing a younger Elvis, doing like that, you know, that prime like 68 comeback special
Mhm.
period, Elvis, and nailed it. Just absolutely nailed it. So, yeah.
Almost bought that guitar once. It's the Hagstrom Viking he played at that special, but
Oh,
in the
cool.
in the end, I had to get the copy of John Lennon's Casino.
Okay. All right. Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
It's
Yeah.
and let's face it. I mean, Elvis is. I mean, John Lennon is a fantastic rhythm, or was a fantastic rhythm player. He doesn't get enough
Hmm.
credit for that.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Yeah,
True.
he made it look too easy, basically.
Right.
But that's
Yeah.
kind of cool. So are you making your? Are you going to be able to make your way to Vegas next month?
Yeah, I am, and I'll be quite honest with you. I'm not super excited about that. I think it's going to be weird. I just think it's going to be really strange. Like Clark County is a place where their infection rates are going up, and I've not put myself in a position to be in a hotel with thousands of other people for an extended length of time in the last 18 months. So it's going to be strange. It's going
Yeah,
to be
one thing I get a
really odd.
lot of is space. So
Mm-hmm.
that which someone living in Japan's like, what? No, you don't have space. So it depends where you are.
Yeah, right.
So
Right.
Tokyo, yeah, their infection rates go nuts because they're still packing onto trains like sardines. But
Oof, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I always like to see my friends there, but I kept like I want to go back to Vegas just for myself to have fun. Like I want to go stay in the places that I want to stay, take my own time, eat in the places I want to eat, see the stuff that I want to see. Going for the Star Trek convention is very different. It's work and it's work all the time. Even when I'm having fun, it's still work, you know? And it's just nonstop. It's like 24 hours a day for that 5 days. So I would not have been terribly disappointed if they decided to postpone it this year, you
yeah,
know? But that said, I'm glad to see the friends who I'm going to see. I'm excited to reconnect with people I haven't seen in a long time. And just, for listeners of Mission Log, we've got a thing going on our Discord with people who are coming in for the first time coming to the Vegas convention. And I look forward to just having a group of people who have been following the show and supporting us on Patreon and just getting to spend some genuine FaceTime with them in masks.
yeah. No, no,
Probably. Yeah.
no. Just thinking of a genuine FaceTime and oh, like on FaceTime.
Yeah, right. I
Yeah.
know. I know. Yeah. Yeah. We've all gotten used to that.
How
But
words get twisted around. Yes.
yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I've never really been to many conventions. I guess it's I have a lot of friends. It's Atlanta. They well until recently they always go to like
Hmm.
Dragon Con or whatever. So
Yeah. Yeah.
but I guess it's once I got out of university, I started just being real transient and working in weird backwoods locations. So
Right.
I mean, there's
Right.
something cool to that too. So
Sure, sure, yeah, yeah. But I think I've gotten so used to going to Vegas every year for this, and I would like to go to other conventions. Hopefully I will know for sure. So I'm not sure when the show comes out, and hopefully that information is still correct when the show comes out. That Larry Nemechek and I are going to go to YumaCon in Yuma, Arizona, the first weekend in October, and I'm so looking forward to that because it makes me think of now I've never been before, so I don't really know, but it makes me think of the smaller conventions that I went to when I was a kid in Birmingham, in Atlanta, Dixie Trek, and stuff like that. So that I really have my eye on that. I think it'll be a blast.
I'm not a big sports fan, but I've been to a few baseball games, and
Mm.
I in Atlanta saw the Braves a couple times. I think I saw the baseball was still in the Olympics when Atlanta had the Olympics. I saw those,
Hmm.
but the by far the best time I ever had at a baseball game was this minor league one in Portland, Maine.
Whoa,
I mean, I
yeah,
don't even remember what the
yeah,
team was called, right? But
because
it was
it was
so
like a
fun.
passion there, right?
There's a passion. The
Yeah,
fans, the fans that were into them were like really into them. Like in your
yeah,
face, like talking to them, like they're like back and forth with the dugouts and stuff. And
right, right.
like between every inning, they just had something.
See, coincidentally, the best baseball game I've ever seen was in Tokyo. And
All
it was, yeah, it was the Ham Fighters versus the Marlins, I want to say. And you had the cheering section and the non cheering section. And we were in the non-cheering section, but there was a Japanese woman behind us who was very outspoken, very much the nonconformist of the group, and she would just go off whenever she felt like it. So immediately, every eye in the stadium turned toward her, and the cameras would capture her. It was a blast.
Yeah, about a couple years ago, I was at work, and everyone else in my family went to see the Carps and the Giants, I think. But
Nice.
but that's fun. Yeah, because my nephew's pretty obsessed with baseball and all that sort of stuff. So
Very cool. Good.
I guess you kind of already got a half plug in there, but do you want to throw out your website or anywhere people can go get into the mission log scene?
Yeah. I mean, most people know me from the show Mission Log podcast from Roddenberry Entertainment, and that's one where we focus on Star Trek exclusively, episode by episode. And then I also produce the Trek Files for Larry Nemeczek, and I produce Sci-Fi 5, which is a daily 5-minute sci-fi history lesson. And that's great because the topics are just all over the place, and it's a quick download, a quick listen. And you can find all of those at podcasts.roddenberry.com, or if you want to find Mission Log directly, missionlogpodcast.com. But regardless, if you go to podcast.roddenberry.com, you'll find the whole lineup, including the shows that we distribute, even the ones we don't produce. So go there and go nuts. Subscribe to everything.
Yeah, that's what, subscribe to everything.
Yes, get it all. Even if you don't listen, just subscribe to it all.
Yeah. As for this one, it's Aural Hygiene Pod at Twitter, Facebook, and such. I also talk about sci-fi movies at Matt and Luke's Sci-Fi Sanctuary. This is all under the umbrella now on Patreon of Podcastio Podcastius. Which
nice. That is awesome.
I didn't come up with that name, but it's a fun one. It's a fantastic one.
Very cool.
Okay, so Pally, let's hit the strip.
All right, Pally, let's go. Let's swing.